a real estate and finance expert that goes to bat for you every day as a consumer advocate. Your host and the consumer quarterback, Brandon Rhymes.
All right. Hey, thanks for joining us on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Greatly appreciate it. America's lost millionaires in 2022. How many millionaires did the United States lose last year? The number is staggering. And what kind of consolidation is it? I believe it's consolidation. Also, the blindside lawsuit. Have you heard about this yet? Michael Orr pursues punitive charges against the family that took him in off the streets in, I believe that was in Mississippi, because they talked about Ole Miss in the movie. Blindside lawsuit. We're going to discuss that as well. We got CPA Duane Bishoff here in studio with us as well. Top tips for maximizing your returns, and also get that review. We're going to talk about an opportunity for a free review on your tax returns. Cost segregation in commercial real estate, also qualified charitable distribution, some other topics we're going to discuss with Duane Bishoff, CPA of Tampa Bay. Also, Alex Lima, Black Belt Fitness and Martial Arts. Crime in San Francisco. Can you believe the Department of Health and Human Services tells their employees, do not come into work from home. Crime is too high around the Nancy Pelosi government building. Crime in San Francisco running rampant. We're going to touch on that, as well as later on in the program, Fred Muth, a.k.a. the Tin Man with Tampa Screens and Aluminum. He is our go-to for contracting here in Tampa Bay. Contractor, expert contributor, Fred Muth, coming up on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So we got a lot of ground to cover here. And before we do, I want to let you know about Salty Arrow Charters. I had a great time this past weekend with my friend Bobby. He went out. Now, a lot of you have gone out fishing, either offshore, inshore fishing during the day. And you know, it's just, that's a lot of fun too. But you haven't seen this. This is called bow fishing. You've got literally a bow and arrow on top of the boat, and you're fishing at night. So the boat is decked out with lights shining down into the water. Salty Arrow Charters. A lot of fun. We had a great time. And with Salty Arrow Charters, you're going out at 8 p.m. To midnight. And that's your 4-hour trip. And you're going out and you're shooting fish. You got all types of different fish that you can shoot. We were shooting sheephead and a couple other types of fish, mullet, and some others. But yeah, it's a fun time. Really cool, different, unique, something fun to do. And hey, talk to Bobby. Let him know about, the offer. Salty Arrow Charters. Let him know the Real Estate Quarterback sent you. All right, a couple of hot listings here from the Platinum MVP team. Keller Williams Realty, always helping our sellers sell faster for more money. Maximizing the exposure for our listing clients, maximizing the exposure, helping you sell faster for more money. We got a property that's co-listed in Pebble Creek Core in Orlando. This is a large land parcel, 100-acre parcel, $13 million asset that we are selling in conjunction with the Meraki Group in Orlando. 100 acres, prime development opportunity, excellent location for a short-term rental community. Best part, you're 10 minutes from Disney, Universal Studios, SeaWorld, downtown, and more. Pebble Creek Court, that's in Four Corners, Florida, just outside of Orlando. Orange and Osceola County, one of our co-listings with the Meraki Group of Keller Williams in Orlando. We also have a property here at 5146 Marine Parkway. This commercial property. Now, this commercial property here, it's a great opportunity because you're 1,000 feet from US 19, 50,000 vehicles a day passing by this location at Marine Parkway. You got a store frontage, you got large windows, natural light. It's currently operating as a pool company, but the owners are motivated. Got plenty of parking, beautiful property, mix of local and tourists that are in the area. New condos being built across the street. 1,000 foot from US 19, where you have 50,000 vehicles a day passing by. 5146 Marine Parkway, Newport Richey. One of our commercial property listings from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. Check out our website, platinumcoastalelite.com.
And yeah, I'm raising my glass to those saving our ass overseas.
All right, Duane Bishoff, CPA of Tampa Bay, back in studio. Appreciate you coming in.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, my pleasure. So good to have you in, and let's look at some of the top tips for maximizing your returns. And the commercial real estate is another area that people are looking at too. Credit card debt, record numbers. We're going to talk about some of these different stories. Corporate debt crisis in the country, $7.8 trillion, a record high of commercial debt. But on a local level, what can people do? Small employers, small business owners, employers. What can we do to protect our dollar?
Yeah, so you've got to look out for every opportunity that there is. Look at what you're paying for things. A lot of times when things are going good, you just keep renewing services, and you never look and see. You never checking prices and seeing if maybe you're overpaying or you don't even need it. It's amazing if you just go back through your credit card transaction, all the stuff that's on there. Like, I'm really still paying for this? I cut out like $300 worth of stuff a month I was paying for. I forgot that it was even on there, And so I took, 15 minutes to start calling cancel.
Yeah.
And so everybody can do that. You go. It's pretty easy to do.
I like that idea.
Other things, there's certain tax things that people can do. One for I would say it's usually the older class, not necessarily, doesn't have to be, but now with the new standard deduction being so high, a lot of people don't get to use don't get to itemize.
Right.
And we have a lot of charitable people in this world, and they're tied into their church, they're given to other organizations, and they just not getting any benefit from it because they can't max the standard deduction. Well, if you're older and you have an IRA and you have to take an RMD, which is a required minimum distribution anyhow,
right?
You can do your charitable contributions from your IRA. And so let's say we were going to give $10,000 to tithe, and you're not getting any bang for your buck. If you pay that same $10,000 directly from your IRA, you got a front page one tax deduction, and now you just save tax on $10,000.
Wow.
That's a simple move. You just call your broker and say, hey, I want a charitable distribution out of my IRA. And we have clients that do that every year. Do it early in December. Don't wait, because the brokers hate that because it takes a little bit of time. But yeah, you can certainly do that. Another thing you can do for itemizing deductions for people who are kind of getting close to being able to itemize and can't, is bunching up deductions. So every other year you try to bunch your deductions. So if you don't have a mortgage, your mortgage company isn't paying your real estate taxes and you pay them, you can pay them in January pay one of them in January and pay the next year in November. Oh. So you got 2 years worth of taxes. Now,
got it.
In the new law, the taxes are capped at $10,000. So if your real estate taxes are more than $10,000, that's not going to really help you. But if they're not, and it keeps you below 10, say yours are $5,000 a piece, you can pay both of them and get the full $10,000. Then you may have a mortgage, pay your mortgage interest, and then you can do the same thing with your charitable contributions. You can, instead of paying them, $5,000 every year, you can pay them early one year, late the other year, put them all in the same year, and you got another $10,000. So you bundle up deductions to try to get over the standard deduction.
Got it. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Those are good tips right there. Those are practical tips that you can take and utilize. So rather than putting it in one year, you're rolling it to the next year and combining that with your end of the year. So maybe like January and November, as you mentioned. Right. That makes a lot of sense. We're talking with Duane Bishoff here, CPA of Tampa Bay, on the Consumer Quarterback Show, and I'm your host, Brandon Rhymes. And let's look at it, because people are struggling right now, Duane. Private debt hits the first time over $1 trillion. I'm gonna play this clip here about the amount of credit card debt, and I want to ask you too. As a follow up, are you seeing some of your clients that are struggling? Are you seeing different folks in your sphere struggling? Because it seems like America is just we're at our breaking point almost.
So we've heard a lot about our national debt, and for good reason. It now sits at $32 trillion, a $10 trillion increase in just 5 years. But private debt is a topic that sometimes goes under the radar, despite the fact that it's going to have immense impacts on the future of our economy. According to the Federal Reserve, this week, for the first time in our nation's history, American credit card debt blew past $1 trillion, surging $250 billion in the last 2 years alone, and $45 billion in the last quarter alone. Wow. That means that American credit card debt is now larger than the GDP of all but 17 countries on Earth. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Yeah, truly impossible to do so. What's behind the sudden surge?
Well, a lot of times when people think of credit card debt, they assume people are simply buying big ticket items they can't afford and just kicking payments down the road. And while reckless spending habits are playing some role here, the reality is that more Americans are being forced into debt just trying to pay off monthly living expenses.
Yeah, they're trying to buy food and gas and just get by and make sure the insurances get paid, or maybe dropping insurances, cutting out certain things that they say, hey, look, I got to self-insure this year because I can't afford the health premium or auto premium. Well, I guess you have to carry auto. So bad example there, but yeah, people are hurting, man. And what it's interesting too, I think it might have been Senator Ted Cruz or someone like that, or maybe a Rand Paul that put this out. It took something like 180 years or 200 years for the United States to accumulate our first $1 trillion of debt, and then to see what the Bushes did, what the Clintons did, what the Obamas did. They doubled, quadrupled that debt in a very short period of time. So again, we talk about the uniparty a lot. $32 trillion is where the debt's at now. That's up $10 trillion in the last 5 years. It's unbelievable the amount of spending that these clowns are doing.
Yeah. No, it really is. I'm one who's not for all this forgiving all this student debt.
Yeah.
Hell, I don't have as much retirement money because I funded my kids' education.
Exactly.
I could have borrowed money if I knew they were going to, pay it all back. And the funny thing is, half that student debt isn't for books and tuition. It's for having fun. Yeah. And for living and going on beach week and doing all that stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, I've seen some of that. And, no, the debt thing is tough. We do have clients that are struggling, who haven't before.
Yes.
And they're starting to struggle. Some of them have grown some businesses and it's not going as easy as it used to be.
Right.
A lot more, seems like it's more restrictions.
Yes.
And we've had a lot of clients. I've had a lot of good clients that have been bought out by bigger companies. I mean, I've lost a lot of really good clients over just being bought out.
Wow.
So,
yeah. Unbelievable, man. And so we let in with this story. America lost millionaires. I think this is along the same lines. Global wealth, here's a story off of LinkedIn. Global wealth has declined for the first time in 15 years, according to the annual Credit Suisse report. In 2022, global wealth fell 2.4% in dollar terms, with Americans taking the brunt of the impact. About 1.7 million U.S. adults lost their millionaire status last year. 1.7 million U.S. adults. They used to be a millionaire, and now they're not. And another 17,000 no longer qualify as ultra high net worth. That's 100 million or more. So 17,000 people in America had over $100 million net worth. Europeans also saw their wealth decrease, while some Latin Americans fared better due to currencies that appreciated against the dollar, right? So then now you have the currency issue as well, which we're in jeopardy of losing our status as the world's reserve currency. Despite the war in Ukraine, economic status, Russia added 56,000 millionaires. So something's going on there. I wonder what that could be. Yeah. But yeah, think about that. I mean, what happened is you had lots of consolidation. BLM fires burning down a lot of these storefronts in all these big cities. Who came in and swooped in and bought it up? Your Bill Gateses, your those types of people, the wealthy, right, the elites, the politically connected, the Pelosi's, the people that had the connections. So yeah, I think it's consolidation is what really happened. Hey, who was it that was quoted saying, "Never let a good crisis go to waste"? Right. I think it was that Rahm Emanuel or one of those guys.
Yeah.
But yeah. Crazy stuff, man. Less millionaires.
Yeah, it's one. I don't know how many people know if they're a millionaire.
What is the definition of a millionaire? Is it?
I would think it'd be your net worth.
Is it? So it's a combination of real estate holdings, cash on hand,
value everything, less debt that you own. Yeah,
there you go.
So
value
IRAs, any kind of retirement plan, all that.
Yeah.
So you do basically you just put your personal life into a balance sheet.
There you go.
So,
yeah.
But unless they're getting a loan and having to fill something out, I don't know how many of these people are actually looking at that. How many of them are looking at their home,
calculating it.
Look at what home costs are now to what they used to be.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just skyrocketed over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So,
That's true.
You have one, you're making, you're getting part of it too, but if you're shut out of that game, you're just falling behind.
And then of course the U.S. the dollar now, so the dollar's shifting the way it has over the last 2 years. Hey, I used to be a millionaire. Now you look at it like, hey, maybe not. Take off. What are we taking off? About 18%? I mean, they say inflation's what number? It's not. It's a lot more than that.
Well, it's interesting. I can remember when I was younger. My goal was to make $100,000.
Yeah,
now it's
go.
like, what the UPS driver is going to make $170,000. What is up with that?
And they're peeing in bottles too. Or no, that's Amazon drivers. But yeah, they're peeing in bottles so they can keep their job and hit all their stops they have to hit.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking with Duane Bishoff, CPA of Tampa Bay. We're going to come back. I want to talk about a review as well. I want folks to reach out and get a review. So we're going to give an offer here for the first 3 listeners. We're going to offer this free review for the first 3 listeners coming up here on the show. Plus the blindside lawsuit. We're going to discuss that as well. Michael Orr pursues punitive damages against the family that took him in off the streets, help him get the college education, help him get the scholarships. Just unbelievable story coming out of the news lately here. Coming up here on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you follow us online. We'd love to connect with you at Brandon Rhymes 1, at CQB Show, and youtube.com, Brandon Rhymes Realty. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Ken Shamrock, and you're here with Consumer Quarterback Show. And I say, Brandon Rhymes, knock out your competition.
Hey, welcome back. We appreciate you spending some time with us. You know, it makes our day when we get these calls. Alex and I, we both get calls from our listening audience, people that are engaged with the show, and it really makes it means the world to us when we get to talk to you and hear that feedback and, put you in touch with our attorneys, CPAs, financial advisors, self-defense experts, auto industry, airline industry, so many different ways we can help you here. We're connected to a lot of the best experts, and you hear them here daily on the Consumer Quarterback Show. So reach out to the hotline, 727-263-3707. Also, we're going to put you in touch with CPA of Tampa Bay, Duane Bishoff, and he's going to offer a review. If you want to get a review done of your last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, we'll let him describe what that entails. But 727-263-3707, because did you know you can go back and actually find money in a lot of cases? A lot of people have done it. We've seen it. And there's some things we're going to be doing as well to go back. The Augusta rule applies in our situation where we rent out our home from our business to have parties at the house and networking events and gratitude parties, business mixers. So we're going to come up with that here in just a moment with Duane. But we always like to feature our listings. We got a property on Bardmore Place, 13906 Bardmore Place, Unit B. Got a 2-car garage here, beautiful home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2 stories, 2 second floor features of water-resistant parquet flooring, 5-person jacuzzi tub, beautiful home here with banana trees, avocado trees that are ripe right now, bearing fruit. A great opportunity to own a completely remodeled, beautiful home here in Carrollwood in Tampa. Beautiful property at 13906 Bardmore Place, Unit B, Tampa, Florida. You can see all of our listings online at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. All right, Duane, I wanted to get to this review, make sure we get that in today, and, offering it out to 3 of our listeners to get that review, take a look at it, see what you have on paper, go back a couple of years, because I think, sometimes people pick a preparer, or maybe they're just going into a local strip mall where you have, these big name companies that just, they'll do the returns, but they're not really finding, in a lot of cases, some of the things that you can find with your many years of expertise. How long have you been in the business?
Over 40 years.
Okay, so you're relatively new at it, right? Okay, there you go. So 40 years in the business, and could probably find some money laying around somewhere. I mean, you probably have success stories where you've done that as well.
We have, yeah. It's definitely when we bring on a new client, we usually ask them to give us 2 or 3 years of tax returns. We can some we need the information, but then we try to look back and see if there's anything that stands out that we can find.
Right.
It could be they're have rental properties and they're not taking depreciation, because someone doesn't know what depreciation is.
Yeah.
Literally, we just got referred to a gentleman that owns some commercial property, and his daughter was doing his tax return.
Oh my
and
God.
They're selling properties.
Yeah.
And she never even accounted for any of the expenses of sale because she didn't know how to do it or what to do.
Wow.
And we got 3 years. We need to amend you and get you some money back.
Yeah, amend the return, get the money back.
Right.
And there's opportunity there. I mean, who doesn't want found money?
Sure.
I love that idea. So, hey, corporate debt's really high right now too, Duane. I wanted to just talk about this. I got a clip here about corporate debt. $7.8 trillion, record high of corporate debt. And I think that's where a lot of people aren't really looking. We hear about residential. Most people focus over here on residential. Corporate debt. I'm going to play this quick clip and get your reaction.
We saw similar concerning data from elsewhere in the private sector, the corporate side. Tell us more on that front.
Yeah, it's worth noting corporate America has not been immune to the debt crisis either. In the last 12 months, the volume of corporate debt has grown by 6%, hitting $7.8 trillion, which is another record high. As a result of that debt in the private sector, a growing number of large companies are struggling to stay afloat. So far this year, 55 U.S. firms have defaulted.
55 firms defaulted. Last year, I think it was 36. So that number's trending up, and there's about, and this is a little known fact too. A lot of people don't realize, but a lot of these large pension funds, these large investment funds, they have about 40% of their portfolio with commercial loans and commercial lending portfolios. So whenever you have these rising interest rates, so here we are in a rising interest rate environment, the long-term bonds that normally they'd be able to refinance that debt and restructure that debt, which is a lot of commercial loans do that.
Right.
They can't do that now.
Right.
So there's a potential bubble there, and
yeah,
a lot of problems.
It definitely is. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Trying to come back from COVID, all the social things with all the theft that's going on everywhere, all the retail going on. People, not going to retail anymore. People are just ordering stuff from home.
Yep.
And so these people are left with brick and mortar buildings. I mean,
yep.
I got a brick and mortar building. I'm barely ever in it. We're all at home.
Yeah.
Luckily, mine doesn't cost very much.
Well, luckily, you're in Florida and you're appreciating too.
Right,
yeah.
right. So, I mean, you definitely see that.
Yeah.
They've got to finance this stuff. They got to finance these losses and things somewhere.
And the point of that too is that there's a credit crunch coming. I believe there's a big credit crunch coming because when banks are losing, they're not going to continue to lose. They're going to start cutting off that money flow to these companies. That's going to trickle down to the consumer. We got to get your final thought and your best website, how to connect.
Yeah. So as far as how to connect, our website is cpaoftampabay.com. Best thing, call the office, 813-356-0400, and Stephanie will answer the phone and take a message. We have a live person answering the phone.
I love it.
Yep.
Man, that's one of my pet peeves, calling a company, getting bounced around, hit this number. We had a bad experience with Carnival Cruise Lines, and it's unbelievable to try to get somebody to answer the phone. You can't get it. Right. So call Stephanie, CPAofTampaBay.com, Duane's office, and we're going to come right back. More with Alex Lima, Black Belt Fitness. We're going to talk about crime in San Francisco. The government says, hey, stay home, don't come in. There's too much crime. More here coming up on the Consumer Quarterback Show. Make sure you follow us online and download our YouTube channel and podcast, youtube.com, Brandon Realty, and we'll be right back here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
Thanks for listening to my daddy's show. Please make sure to send him all of your real estate deals and subscribe to the Consumer Quarterback Show podcast on iTunes and Spotify, or check out our YouTube channel. Have a blessed day.